and as both DRX and Nongshim showed yesterday. Because it's a snowbally meta, and I think any team in the LCK right now can get a 4,000 gold lead on any other team. We saw it, DRX got a massive lead over Gen G. That doesn't always translate to being able to win those later team fights, especially around Baron, which is a lot tougher to tackle right now.
Exactly right, but here we are in the Champion Select for game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. DNS on the blue side with second pick, which I will never get used to, as HLE did have right of first selection, and they selected the ability to pick first.
I'm making it a thing, right? So you have 3 choices now. You have R1, R5, or blue side. Those are the 3 picks. They chose R1.
Got it. I still want to just say right of first selection.
Yes, we
as
can
slowly
say that
as possible.
Yeah, we can say that right before as well.
I would prefer to do that. I did want to do the ruffle thing, but it really doesn't make any sense. So maybe I should just I should shelve that one for now and do something that, you know, maybe if, like, say we went to like First Stand or MSI and we started saying that, everyone would be like, dude, you're stupid. And I don't want that. I don't want that from my colleagues, because they've never said that before.
No.
Ever. And so
We're
I don't
trading.
want to start now. Yeah, we've got the Azir coming on through. Could be Closer just locking in the Orianna, and there it is.
Nocturne was banned, so you could tell exactly the way Hanwha Life Esports were saying we're going to take this unfair trade. It's the Azir, but you don't get the Nocturne. But Pioshik's like, well, I've got the next best thing. Well, we'll take the Jarvan.
There's another next best thing, and that's the Xin Zhao. And then everything is going to be true and balanced, and as we expect. There are a lot of things left up and available, though, namely the Nico, which is still there, Yunara, a big one, that we don't often see first pick, but when there's a Jarvan already there, you're not as worried about the Vi and things like that. Kana Vi could come out, though.
Yeah. Varus a classic for Gumayushi, and he is going to lock that one in.
Yeah.
Do love to see when Gumi gets his hands on this pick. The Vi you mentioned will be the next step, potentially, although Kanavi teasing us with, or Zeka's teasing us, but maybe telling Zeka to hover Lee Sin, he's thinking about it. But either way, Xin Zhao definitely feels to be the strongest pick in this situation with the picks available. Like, if Ambessa was up, I think there's definitely some leeway there. If you ended up going for Aatrox, I don't think you'd show it here. The Sivir with the Jarvan on DNS's side makes a ton of sense, and it's also opting into a later game scenario where you're scaling and trying to play through front to back and wave clear, where Hanwha Life Esports have been at their weakest in the second half of the game.
Yep. Another really fun fact here that is definitely related to the game is the acronyms from the beginnings of the bans actually both spell words. So we've banned a jar on one side and a man on the other.
Ah.
So that's kind of cool, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
So there it is. That's just a little bit of a fun fact for you guys. I like to add a little bit extra when I am on the broadcast. So there it is. Jop isn't quite as cool, so we're going to ignore.
When you get the vowel in between the consonants, you know, you can make things happen.
Yeah, manba also doesn't quite work. They could be trying to ban a man bun, which I would have taken offense to if I hadn't have already cut it off.
Are there any O champions left available?
Yeah, like, if they ban Yunara second on the side of HLE, they could have been on their way to banning the man bun.
Aww.
And then they first ban Nico next game. Oh, it'd be perfect. We'll just have to see whether that is exactly where they're going.
I think it's really interesting that the Poppy is banned here. Poppy has been really terrible in lane, but has been decent in terms of team fights, but it's been nerfed significantly. It's not really very viable in the jungle. The Xin Zhao's already taken away. The Gnar makes a little bit more sense here.
Yep. It also works with the acronym situation as well, because it's kind of like they're saying jar and then they fell over. It's like jar, you know? It kind of works perfectly.
See what this final ban will be, because they have plenty of engage. Anything that pushes lane in terms of supports would be something they could have considered. The Bard was the best one. The Gwen will be taken away, so Gwen and Gnar out of the top lane. We'll see who makes the first move here in terms of that, because DN Supers do have the counter pick. They can choose top lane or support here. The Alistar feels really safe, and it is a Peter favorite. It also sets up Orianna incredibly well, so I feel like they're feeling really good about this blind pick into having a counter pick for Dudu.
Yeah, let's see what Delight is going to go with here, as of course his signature Rakan will be locked away. A lot of engage on both sides of the rift here. But being able to get this Alistar through without having to worry about a Sylas is certainly something that's been pretty good in the past. But man, this is a rock-solid composition, despite the lack of Malphite.
There is no Gwen, there's no Gnar.
No Glenn? Ah, Gwen. Yes, there is none of her.
And also, it looks like Zahin may be the opt-in here for Dudu, because Zahin has really struggled in lane, but becomes this incredible threat later on. And into the Scion, you kind of get to skip the hard part.
Yeah. It has
Rek'Sai is just a little more
broken.
common pick, though. So
Yeah,
I guess
so this is less fun, but it is definitely effective.
there are now 5 threats for Gumayusi to deal with in this game. He has to deal with the flanking Rek'Sai, flag and drag Cataclysm. The ball carriers are insane in this comp for the Orianna.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely
she powers
ridiculous.
everyone, who will also then be sped up by the Sivir ultimate. And there's some peel here, right? Like Xin Zhao and Scion. There's also Azir. But the coordination is going to, again, have to be there to keep Guma safe. He does not have a tank support with him in this game. In a lane matchup that should be decent, obviously, for Guma and Delight here, but can be a little bit volatile. If I took the nameplates off, I would feel incredibly good about Hanwha Life Esports' draft because they have so much frontline for this Varus. Even though there's a lot of threats, it feels inherently safe because he's got so much range. But Hanwha Life Esports have a lot to prove to me if I'm going to trust this composition coming into Game 1.
Yep. Also, the fact that Zeka hasn't necessarily been in the greatest form so far over the last couple of weeks, and some of the Azir games have left a little to be desired, right? And he is going to be the consistent damage in these team fights and has to be getting work done if HLE want to be able to win here, because Gumayusi is going to be on Poke Varus, right? So you're not necessarily doing as much of that consistent DPS during the fights. Obviously, the Poke is going to be very valuable. He can steal away all sorts of objectives because he's Gumayusi, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be the be-all and end-all in these team fights. And DNS, they've got a Sivir. They love doing that DPS. Let's get onto the Rift here. Game number 1.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1, DNS versus HLE. And I do need to correct myself a little bit. I think I was a little harsh on Zeka. I think the last time on the Rift, he was probably the best performing player. But prior to that, we had our doubts.
It's
so
the ups
let's
and
hope
downs,
that he
you know?
holds on to that form.
Exactly. It's the ups and downs. I do think that he has the most critical role to play in this game because he is going to be both an engage tool as well as a potential peel tool for Guma, and his side lane pressure is all Hanwha Life have in sides because they otherwise have a Scion, right? And
yeah.
Dudu is playing Rek'Sai, which is not, Fiora levels of backdoor, but they have the Sivir, so they're going to naturally have a lot of prio when we get to later on objectives in the game because that mid lane is always going to be under Duckdom's control, barring any accidents there. He's also got a spell shield, so relatively safe to continue to make that pressure happen. So map control and vision make this composition of DNS so oppressive. The only way you could make this harder for Guma to play is if they had the Nocturne, but that was, of course, banned away.
Yeah. And I guess the one saving grace is the fact that maybe they want to kill Zeka instead. As level 2 is going to be gained here by Peter, decides not to throw out the Pulverize there as you saw Gumayusi get slammed into the wall. Just wanted to displace him as much as possible, which is understandable here.
Delight, he's playing an old classic. We haven't seen him play it as much recently, but this is the champ he got famous for as far back as his bro days.
He has been an incredibly good Rakan player. That is absolutely true. Looking forward to seeing whether he can have one of his vintage performances. I believe he played it in the last series that they played and looked pretty good in that moment. As Kanavi on the screen now, moving down towards the bottom side after a full clear up top. And both junglers at pretty similar clip right now as far as the clear.
Consider also, if you're watching at home, Hanwha Life go 1-3.
Yeah.
With DRX looking the way they do now, there is a chance this team does not make it out of groups, does not get to play in the play-ins. That actually could happen.
That is actually ridiculous.
It's been the conversation we've had about this team that we know they're going to get it together. Like, they were super far ahead. They kind of messed up the mid game. That Aatrox game everyone remembers where it was definitely going to be Kanavi Palm until things kind of fell really by the wayside. We've been like, they'll bounce back. But if they don't bounce back here, right, like this is the moment to bounce back, then you're starting to have serious questions about what this roster's ceiling is for the LCK Cup.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. Also a little bit worried about this fight that is starting to break out. 4 versus 4 in the river as they just dive on top of Pioshik. He flashes out of the way though as Kanavi is now the one in trouble. Can Pioshik actually escape? The answer is no as Gumayusi picks up first blood. Kanavi likely to go down now though as Dokdam collects one for himself. The barrier is going to be used here as Peter with a great pulverizing closer will be able to take down Guma. Flash out there as Zeka gets him to safety, but a 1 for 2 in favor of DNS.
The ones to pull the trigger first were DNS, and that gave him a huge inherent advantage at the beginning of that fight. The fact that Pioshik had flash, but Kanavi had to use his first, meant that he had a lot more wiggle room, a lot more space to work with there. HLE Esports were priced into a situation where they could not really retreat. They had to fight their way out. And unfortunately for them, that is going to result in a 2 for 1. As Kanavi is the one who has to flash initially here when this comes through. He does not want to get flag and dragged, so flashes away. Then looks for the re-engage. Pioshik has his flash to use defensively, and that's really the most important part of this. Peter gets enough time to actually end up getting the stun here as well, and Delight is trying his best to get away. Flashes out. Man. But there's just too much damage here. The double pulve comes in. The knockback on the Zeka means that he is going to have to flash as well, so it's more insult to injury here.
Oh, a bit of a replay here as DNS fans losing their minds. Oh, is that the DNS guy from last year?
I'm not sure. I think it might be.
Well, he's looking pretty psyched about
I think it is. Like I had to index my brain for a second, but I'm pretty sure that is the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Some famous people in the audience here as Delight tries to escape and Peter says no. But right now, DNS very happy with how this game has gone. Pulverize onto Gumayusi here as the Boomerang Blade doing a whole bunch of work, and Guma needs to be very careful as Dokdam with a blue buff. Just not really worried about just pressing as many buttons as he would like.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue there for them in that bottom side. Guma had already used his teleport, and because he opted for teleport in this lane, doesn't have any combat summoner to utilize in these types of situations to try to trade back. So this domino effect is really starting to hit hard.
Yeah, you can see closing out, speeding himself up with that dissonance, throwing the orb at Zeka, who will probably look for a reset. Yeah, he does. So level 6 gain, Shockwave now available for closer. It should mean that DNS are able to grab themselves this first dragon, especially with Peter clearing out all of the vision. So DNS actually just going from strength to strength in this game, looking to reach about a 1,000 gold lead and a great start in this game with compositions that are pretty evenly matched as we wait until later on in the game, right? Like the carry potential of both an Orianna and a Sivir certainly skyrocket as the game goes on. Obviously, the Azir is no slouch, but this is one of those games where DNS are probably looking at a late game that they're feeling very comfortable with, and even in an even game state.
Not to mention that HLE Esports have looked better at this stage of the game than the later parts of the game. And so that's an early trend. I don't want to say that's necessarily going to be the truth in every game we see, but it makes you wonder about how this game is going. Does not look like a positive for the moment, as this team has always been shaped by its jungler, right? As far back as like the crazy swaps and Willer stepping in to save the day. When Chovy was on this roster, the jungler who will not be named also was probably to blame for a lot of Hanwha's struggles when they ended up getting part of that DRX roster in 2023. Grizzly couldn't solve that issue, but once Peanut joined, this team really started firing on all cylinders, right? Picked up an LCK title, and Kanavi, very aggressive, but it's a great start in this game as he's got Spell Shield.
Yeah, you can see HLE actually able to grab themselves that first plate, and so with a little bit of a shove, feeling pretty good about it. Evening out the CS as well is Gumayusi, and will be able to create a little bit of a lead for himself as they do shove another wave forward. So a better look here for HLE.
As, this is going to be another wave crashing through, and see if anything can come of this. Looks like they're just going to be able to chill under turret and get all of these minions.
Wolf, I have to say, it was very fun that you mentioned the G-Riz. It's been a long time since I've thought about him.
Yeah, no,
and the memory is, it's a nice one. I'm happy to have it. Thank you for giving it to me.
I love when we have these players, these challengers players who are pushed into, unusual circumstances and rise to the occasion. We've had so many of them over the years. Poby, arguably like the most famous one just because he's Poby, but we had, Raptors step in for Umpty, I think I want to say, when the a lot of COVID was happening and stuff like that, which is...
Johan as well.
Yeah.
Of course, like world champion. Standing beside Pioshik as he hoisted the trophy in 2022.
Dokdam was not really a challengers player at the time, but I do remember when Dokdam heroically stepped in with a broken arm. With his cast on and carried the, I think it was Nongshim at the time. No, was it? Who was that, the roster?
It wasn't KT, was it?
Was it D+?
Anyway,
he's been on. Duckdom is he's almost collected every LCK team at this point.
He's got a lot of jerseys at home. Let's just say that. But it's hard to remember.
He ended up carrying his team to victory once with a broken arm, which was a really cool sub in. Sometimes circumstances happen where you get to see a really cool moment like that. Duckdom is pushing hard.
Yeah, Duckdom looking for the angle hit. Spell Shield doesn't quite work out though as he flashes, realizing that he needs to get out of the way. Chains of Corruption not quite going to connect there as Grand Entrance just to re-engage onto Peter. Duckdom now looking for a little bit of an angle here as he does throw out some ricochets, but it looks like DNS are going to be backing away for now.
Yeah, there was some consideration from Pioshik there that because Guma had already used his ultimate, that he was potentially going to be killable there, even if they traded 1-for-1 with his Cataclysm. Maybe he kills Guma, Duckdom escapes, and Pioshik sacrifices his life for it, and it ends up being worth, but they do not opt for it in the end. Guma's flashes back up.
Looks like Dudu having a bit of fun here towards his top side, even if the CS is very even between the two. Making sure that he keeps Zeus as low as possible and will be just farming wherever he would like. I think picking up a couple of plates already and might be able to get another one here as Zeus is desperately trying to get back home.
I think one of the reasons why Orianna and Azir are traded so often is because Orianna is one of those champs that actually have played insanely aggressively and with a high mastery. You can actually win the lane into the Azir pretty well, and Closer is doing just that. It's kind of naturally pulling up a significant gold lead here. He picked up a kill in that earlier skirmish, so he's just going to continue to maintain a lot of prio in this lane, as we do have a bit of a maybe contest here, late TP.
Yeah, there's a Pulverize onto 2 here as Peter makes his way forward. Crescent Guard comes down though as a Cataclysm to bring Pioshik back in as Dudu is coming on over, but Zeka's going to get here first. Closer making his way in as well. Can he find it? As okay, there is one of them as Shockwave hits onto 2. DNS, throw down the Wombo combo and grab a couple of kills.
I mean, the fight at the beginning of this looked like it was a little bit too optimistic for DNS because they didn't have the Rex side. The TP was late. Closer wasn't there, but they were able to kind of bait Hanwha into sticking around long enough there. And then the follow-up from Peter is actually fantastically timed. So when you watch this initially, you're like, okay, but there's no damage. You know, there's no damage here at all, and that's a change up. But they get his ultimate, right? And they pull the Cataclysm out to buy time for Dudu to show up, and then Peter sets up Closer for success here. And there was an angle for Kanavi to flash out, but when he misses that opportunity, they're just chain CC'd. They both had flash, could not get out.
Yep, Dudu there with the flash on Burrow to make sure that they were in the air forever. And now a 2,000 gold lead for DNS. Oh my goodness, don't tell me it's happening. This is not the timeline for today.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
It's DNS DK right now is what it looks like, Atlas.
Yeah, that's, and that's balance in all things. That's how it's supposed to be. It's all right. We're knocking each other up here between the two supports, but a headbutt back onto Delight. And he is just food for Duckdom.
What is going on?
Well, DNS are winning, Wolf. That's what's going on. That's what I'm seeing here on my screen.
Now, we came out of a replay there, and we kind of came in at a awkward timing. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about why Delight was there, and maybe what cooldowns he had available, but he did not have his ult. That's coming up in 10 seconds. And he did have flash. He is ended up getting caught there in the river where there is an immaculate amount of vision in this dragon, or around this dragon.
That's a free double dragon to come on through as well. And with an Infernal Soul on the rift.
With Sivir.
Oh dear.
And with Orianna.
And Orianna's going the I do damage build even outside of just throwing my ultimate out. Like this is, Closer is going to be very frightening. With an Infernal Soul, if that does indeed come on through. Dudu is going to get roared at here by Zeus, but just going to throw out a Prey Seeker as Delight just trying to clear out all the divots that have been put into the ground. Bit of a golf reference there for Dagon. I think he got that one.
If he wants to play a sad tune after getting picked earlier with his Vandal Pipes, he's got those put together now. Both supports building that item in this scenario. I feel that with the Lethality Varus, not as valuable as it is going to be for the Sivir to have that support item there, but still going to be the item of choice. It's just very good at the moment. Even with the nerf coming through, it seems pretty good still. Yeah,
people still pretty keen on building that one. As Essence Reaver and Ghostblade both completed for AD carries. Duckdom probably wanting to make it to the Quick Blades to feel really good about how the game is going, but Essence Reaver feels really nice as well, even with the slight nerf to that one. And so DNS just kind of cruising towards a mid-game now. As Zeus will be able to take some more crockery from this bottom lane. But I don't think that's going to be enough to even out this game state. Still 2.2k the advantage for DNS. And we've spoken already about the fact that they're very happy to play this game late. And that is what they're looking at now, just cruising towards that late game.
The saving grace
they can set things up
for Hanwha Life Esports, or what has to be the saving grace if they're going to come back in this game, is that a lot of this lead is on this Rek'Sai, which doesn't necessarily translate to an insanely snowballing game state. And also that Guma has a lead himself with all the plate gold he picked up. You know, he has 2 additional plates over what Duckdom and Peter were able to get there in the bottom lane. And so maybe this is how Hanwha Life Esports can just utilize this. Yes, the Sion is behind, but he's still a brick wall. The front line they have and the range that they have to try to outplay the Orianna. You know, Orianna can zone a lot, but it's very reliant on Prio. They do have a setup up here on the top side. Zeka has flash and ult.
Yep.
Ooh, cheeky blast cone.
Making his way in. Hex flash, there it is. Hepa Pulv onto Zeka. But I just don't know whether they're really going to be able to kill the Azir.
The crazy thing
held on to.
Well, about that play too from Peter with the Hex Flash is his flash was coming up at the same time. Must have been tracking that, so he could have actually Hex Flashed into a flash knockback.
Hex Flash?
Yeah, that actually
that
almost
sick.
happened, I think, but he did not quite have it in time.
Man, I want him to flash so that he can do that again. Double pulverize to come through here from Peter. But no one there to really do too much about it. Flag damage there from Kyoshik, because now Kanavi's going in. Surprise, as now Duckdom on the hunt, looking for a bit of an angle here, but there's the flash in, the quickness onto 3, Empress Divide onto all of them! And it's Gumayushi that's wiping the floor with DNS. Flashes for everyone, but Kanavi should be able to finish off Kyoshik, and HLE on the board in a big way.
Yeah, they certainly deleted a lot of that massive gold lead that DNS were putting together with this one, and the combo was real. Everybody presses buttons together in a choke point. And Peter and Pioshik, again, very far up, too close to the sun, trying to make this play happen. Duckdom runs over, and then they're all in this tri-brush. Delight who sets this up into the Emperor's Divide.
Oh my God.
It is just nasty.
And that was Chains of Corruption as well. The kitchen sink hit DNS, and there was nothing they could do about it. And even though that piercing arrow does go wide, Kanavi is able to finish off the kill. So that is going to even things out quite nicely here between these two squads, as we're down to a 200 advantage for DNS. And the Drake's obviously going to be important here, but HLE moving in the right direction here in this game.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be big in the Guma category, right? When I was talking about win cons here for Hanwha Life Esports, he is now the only one with a significant foothold in this game, but that has ballooned compared to when I mentioned it before. He was like, I don't know, 60 gold up or something. He's 1.6k the advantage now and has his completed Manamune.
Yeah, that's it's a big 2-item spike here for Gumayushi. We'll see what he's going to be putting together next, but should be that these items come through thick and fast for the Varus, as the lethality ones aren't necessarily the most expensive. As Dudu is just going to take this turret. He's tanking it up though, so he does have to vacate. That one will be going down very soon.
When you have your quest complete as the AD carry as well, you get more gold for takedowns. So if you're the benefactor of a big play like that post-quest completion, you get even more money, and the snowball can really roll down the hill.
Oh, Yoshi going to get engaged on here. I believe has his flag and drag, but working out where he wants to use it is Delight. Running real fast with that quickness, but now won't have it as Peter is closing in. Not a lot of cooldowns available. And with the Drake coming on up, let's see whether DNS can actually fight for this. Pioshik at half health.
I think they might, if they can identify. I mean, look, there's no Varus ult, there's no Delight ult here. The problem is Closer can't get in.
Dudu has teleport, so he's going to take this first turret of the game and then look to teleport in. He does so right now. Closer now going to get thrown back here as he flashes on top of Zeka. Don't know about that one as he's now running away. There's a pulverized. No, it's a Crescent Guard from Kanavi as he does manage to take down the dragon. Kills the cow as well as Duckdom has to flash out of the fight, but it's a disaster for DNS. And HLE will do exactly what they want in this game. Rift Herald also running amok. As Dudu and Duckdom, I don't think they're going to be able to do too much here, as Kanavi doing his favorite thing and driving the Rift Herald into this outer turret.
They had the setup, and I mentioned that Zeka needs to be strong in sides in this game. He has a big responsibility in this one, but he has Closer pinned down, and so Closer can't join the fight. And so much about this team composition before the Sivir gets 2-3 items is the Orianna and the combos that can be set up. But look at where the Azir is on the mini-map. Denying entry. You mentioned the flash as well. Instead of flashing towards his teammates, trying to like sacrifice himself to look for an ult, which he can't really get to the carries anyways. Look at where Gumayusi's positioned. He flashes away. He's just not here. And he's not enough damage in this composition. Guma is massively ahead, untouched in this fight, and Duckdom cannot alone do it, even with the engaged setup there with Peter, with his ultimate. Just do not have the tools, despite Delight being down his ultimate. I think DNS eyes too big for their stomach on this one.
Yeah. And a couple of fumbles in a row will mean that HLE now have a gold advantage. They also have that Dragon stopping the stacking here for DNS. That third Drake could have been very, very nice. For a bit of a win condition here and map control.
I mean, so much out of the sails here of DNS in these last two fumbles. And also, Dudu's teleport is now down. Zeus has teleport advantage, so for him to join fights or skirmishes, he has to use his tunnels to get around the map. It's not going to be as comfortable here. Delight?
Yeah, a bit of a pulverize here, so I could be in a little trouble, but does just battle dance his way to safety. So that is going to be A-okay.
I mean, unfortunately for DNS, there's just not a play here, and they sent their Rek'Sai out of lane, so Zeus is chilling, and he can, like I said, with the teleport advantage he has, just join at any time. And HLE really well and truly have that prio and vision advantage I was talking about that they need to secure to get through the mid game. They're utilizing it incredibly well thus far.
Yeah. And now Gumayusi has a loss. Whisper, he just managed to complete his Mirror Manor as well as Kanavi. Once again going in, surprise, surprise, finds a pulverize onto two though, just Peter, as Gumayusi looking to try and answer this one. Chains of Corruption connects onto Closer, and he's the target. Quickness charms him up, and down goes the Orianna. As now Doctom, the next one on the menu here. Kanavi not quite able to find the wins, becomes Lightning, but I don't think Doctom's going to be able to do too much, as he does have the spell shield. That's going to work. Takes down Delight to start this one off, but Gumayusi's got enough damage, and down will go the Sever. And DNS just cannot find anything. They can't catch a break.
I mean, it's like Kanavi and Hanwha were playing a game of chicken here with the Closer. Like, when are you going to ult? You're going to look for this one? They didn't look for the ult on the Delight moments before. And then Closer here has an opportunity to potentially set one up, but it's not on the multi-target he wants. And by the time they get on top of him and he tosses it out, it's way too late. It's no value whatsoever. And I think Hanwha Life should have been perhaps more cautious than they were about engaging into an Orianna and a choke point right there, but they were able to chain the CC. Yeah. And the patience from Closer, I think, probably not warranted in this case. Really wanted to have the biggest possible impact, and it was just too late.
And now Cyrildas is done here for Gumayusi. He's hit 3 items. Doctom has like 2 long swords in comparison to a completed third item. It is a 2,400 gold advantage here for Gumayusi in that bottom lane, and a 3,000 gold advantage for HLE. The first considerable one that we've had so far this game. And it's 21 minutes in, Baron on the table, and with an Azir, that could be taken almost at any time here in this game if DNS aren't careful.
I mean, we started this game off saying, I mean, I did, saying any team in the LCK can get like a 4 or 5K gold lead on anybody. They didn't quite get that big of a lead, but it was significant. But they fumbled so much of this mid game that now Hanwha Life Esports have this insanely strong Azir. The Varus is out of control, and Pyosik is trying to do something. Oh boy.
Nice pullback there. Pyosik has to flash to get himself to safety. As in goes Kanavi, gets headbutted back, but I don't know about that. For DNS, as there's the knockups, as down will go Doctom. Empress Divide doesn't do too much here, as Dudu's able to avoid it with the Void Rush, but I just don't know whether he's going to survive, and the answer is absolutely not. Double kill comes through for Kanavi on this Zao, and it should be Baron.
Every single fight that DNS lose, they get like 1 kill back, you're like, aha, I got Delight. And this time we got Guma, got a shutdown, but it's not a trade-up. The Baron goes over. In each and every one of these fights, Hanwha Life gets stronger and stronger. And unfortunately, this might have been for DNS, backbreaking loss of the team fight, because now how are you ever going to get Prio back to utilize your Orianna combos? You know, it's really rough here. And it's Pyosik stepping just a little bit too far forward. And Kanavi, he does not hesitate in these moments. If you give him someone to go on, he will. Delight gets the follow-up here as well, so they're really split. And then it's just chain CC, as Zeus has been insane on this Sion pick this season, by the way. Like, yes. He is always where he needs to be. He has the perfect angle. And this has just been a great mid-game for Hanwha Life Esports, changing the identity of the storyline set up a little bit here today.
Well, let's see whether HLE can hold on to this Dragon here. As Kanavi and Delight, the only ones really in the area, as Zeka does blast going his way over. There's the quickness into the backline. They look for Closer, and there's the Chains of Corruption from Gumayusi. Hail of Arrow is going to help Zeka take this one down, as Peter with the Unbreakable Will trying to keep himself alive. A massive knockup from Dudu, though, as as he takes out Zeka. He's still at full health, but so is HLE as they look to chase down DNS. Doctom does have a big old shield with the barrier. Now Zeus looking to hold him down, but the Q isn't going to land, and Gumayusi is still firing the shots. Dudu's trying to take out the Scion here, and he's not going to be able to get through the shield. Doctom trying to get away, and he should be able to do so here as he gets out of the brush. Wanted to actually try and kill Gumayusi here, as Dudu, I don't think he's going to be able to seek this prey, as the dragon's still up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone's sort of taking a nap.
That was a wild fight. That's the fight you're scared of. Remember when, like, you know, when we started this season off, we looked at the patch notes, we're like, oh, this is an 80 carry meta. Everyone's going to be playing through bot. Watching Ducktop in this fight explains why. Critically, the ult here from Closer goes off before he dies. If he doesn't get that ultimate off, this fight is a complete wash. And then the rest of the team just play bodyguard for Ducktop as he kites back and does an insane amount of damage. I would love to see his numbers in that team fight, because it is probably cracking 7, 8K, especially with how much time he spent hitting that Scion. He goes for the risky play after this as well, trying to look for Guma. It does not pan out, but it was so close. So he goes in the brush here, wants to get that damage on the Q return. It's almost enough, but Dudu cannot get the gap closed there.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work, as two Drakes now picked up here for HLE. Back out onto the map a little bit faster than DNS this time around, and will be augmenting that damage ever further. Dudu does need to get involved in these fights, has 3 items and 5 kills to his name. The year of Dudu is going to have to be what they rely on if they want to win this game, as he looks for a flank angle. Now Closer makes his way in with a teleport, and DNS are ready for a team fight. As HLE, they can back away if they would like. Still 1 Baron left on the table for another 14 seconds, and that's what they were utilizing there to go for a bit of a siege. But no inner turrets to fall down just yet.
Still a playable game here for DNS, but getting back map control is kind of step 1. And they were able to survive this siege. They were able to defend all of their inners, right? I mean, the top one wasn't under siege, but the bottom one was defended. They got vision back in their jungle. That's kind of step 1. And now they're looking to brace for a long, slow lull state before these next objectives come up, where Sivir is just going to be hard farming as much as possible, looking for that 3rd item, or then she can challenge once again a fight for either this Baron, or more likely the Dragon. And she can start it up. Dragon, a more realistic take. Zeka should be able to complete his Zonias. I don't know how much gold he's sitting on right now, but he should be able to complete his Zonias before that fight breaks out. But the fact that he doesn't have it right now could be an opportunity here in the interim for DNS if they want to collapse on him in sides. But this is exactly why the rest of Hanwha Life Esports are playing through that top side right now.
Yeah, possible angle here, but Lord Doms needs to be completed here for Doctom before he's going to be able to do anything to Zeus, and probably needs an Infinity Edge if he wants to be that huge teamfight threat. We saw in that last fight, his positioning, the way he played it was beautiful. If he had a couple of extra items, if he had parity with Gumayusi at that moment, things could have been a whole lot better, as he does finish the Lord Doms, but IE does need to be done, as 4,000 gold is the approaching gold advantage here for HLE, with full control as we look to this late game. Baron up in 1.5 minutes, 3 minutes on this next Dragon. And DNS, like you were saying, not out of it just yet. But still, it is looking like HLE have just been able to take control of so many of these more recent team fights. They're looking a bit better coordinated so far.
Yeah. The name of the game for Ducktop, Farming Simulator 2026.
Yep.
Teddy was the first one to plat that game, but we'll see if Ducktop can just weather the storm. The fact that it's 2-2 and they got that early double means that this next Dragon is not Infernal Soul for Hanwha Life Esports. So DNS could opt to try to just buy some additional time for that IE to come through. But it is a pretty tough margin, I think. And all the stats you get from triple Infernal Dragon is going to really add up anyways if you give that Dragon over to Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, this is the thing. And then you're also risking a quadra Infernal Soul, which is just kind of obscene amounts of damage potential, as Dudu is going to get stopped in his tracks here. Takes a couple of turret shots, but isn't too worried about it. Although, with Kanavi, maybe he should be a little bit worried about it when it becomes lightning, and in goes Kanavi. Still, Dudu is able to take a whole lot of these tunnels and should be absolutely fine in the end. Just Rek'Sai things,
they're
ladies and gentlemen.
To collapse onto Zeka here, but Zeka is very aware that no one is coming to bail Dudu out and is just going to back off, I think. Hides in the tri-brush there, and they wanted to make something of that, but they're unable to find him.
Yep.
And
Teleport's available for both of our top laners as well, so it could be an honest 5v5 if both of them are allowed to teleport in.
I think that the Baron start is something neither team really wants to do right now, just because it puts you at such an inherent risk. And because both top laners have teleport, like you said, you know, they will show up, and whoever has the favorable angle there could actually change the fight, and whoever is not on Baron will probably have that angle. So see what ends up happening here. My expectation is that the Dragon will actually be what the first objective to be started up, unless something crazy happens before then. But even still, HLE Esports are setting up insane vision on the entryway to this Baron right now.
Oh, you can see Zeus going to have to go back home here, as Dudu is winning these side lanes quite aggressively. Does have a 20 CS advantage and a 3,000 gold lead with those 5 kills that he's put together. I think now that Dudu goes back home, we'll see what he can actually put together, and getting closer and closer to a Spirit Visage by the looks of things.
Yeah.
For item number 4. It's going to be quite difficult to kill this guy, as they do catch Delight on a reset. DNS do get that information.
Duckdom is farming up a Storm. He only put a quick cloak together. See if he can grab a BF sword or what his next item is going to be that he puts into his inventory here, getting on his way to that IE. And if they can buy time before Baron to get that, that's probably the best plan. I think trying to contest Dragon is just not realistic. They defend the Baron, like HLE Esports wanted to trap them there. They set up all that vision, but DNS just farmed and played slow, but played defensively and prevented HLE from starting it. They'll have to give the Dragon up, and that's so painful.
Yeah.
But there is still a chance if the IE completes here for Duckdom, and that is what they're trying to play through. He gets the BF sword I was mentioning, does not quite have the completion just yet.
Also wants that level 16, get as much value out of the On the Hunt as possible. Should be able to grab that from next couple of waves. Not quite at half towards level 16 just yet. But Dudu's level 18, so is Zeus. And these top laners are only going to get more and more dangerous.
They can't get into this Baron pit, and all the deep vision that was reset here for DNS means they can rush this down. I mean, that's a Fed Azir. This is going to be relatively quick, and they have such good turn here. They have so much CC.
Well, they get the teleport out of the Rek'Sai, and that looks like exactly what they wanted. And they're now just going to look to get out of there. Yeah, mission successful.
Now I wonder how DNS approach the next setup here, because you could just put Closer into the bottom lane and try to keep the Rek'Sai top side here. Looks like they're in fact going to try to clear some deep vision themselves. They also have a pretty strong composition for rushing Baron down. If they had the IE, it'd be even better.
Oh, all right. Dudu just going to get sped up there with the Dissonance. And Zeka almost gets through the shield.
This Serpent's Fang here, pretty valuable for Guma. He just picked that one up.
Oh yeah, especially if Dudu's able to teleport into the next fight. Obviously, that is going to take a little bit of time, but he's got a Spirit Visage, and with that huge shield that can then just be eradicated by a Serpent's Fang, that's a lot of value.
I mean, Duckdom is getting so much money. They're giving everything that they can find to him. I thought he was even going to go over and take those wolves. He might after he clears this wave. He just needs that IE. They have to buy time for it, and the time is running out.
Yeah, Delight engaging on him, not exactly the most ideal scenario, as Pioshik taking a lot of damage. And with Gumyushi not even there, that is a scary prospect. Zeus now pushing in towards this bottom side. It's Closer that goes over to try and answer, because he's the one that still has that teleport available, but Zeus should be able to take this out of inner turret, pretty comfortably.
They did ultimately, you know, make that swap I was talking about because of the teleport situation, but it means that the Azir feels completely free to hard control topside where the Baron actually is. And they did not give him the Merc Wolves, but he hits level 16. He has got to be so close, like a wave or two away. And I see him stopping there on the mini-map, see if he's going to back and take it. Because that's like literally what Hanwha is waiting for, sorry, what DNS are waiting for right now.
Yeah, we got an ulti used by Zeus here to get down towards this bottom lane once again. He does still have the teleport, as Closer's also got a very cool hat. Kept his arm guard. Decides not to go for the Zhonya's because he hadn't broken that one just yet. So the next fight,
there it is.
Maximum damage possible.
The back is real. HLE Esports, like, they could try to strike at this exact moment because they saw Duckdom's not on the wave, right? And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They need to send Sion up there. He is coming over. Duckdom has to run as fast as he can back to this fight.
Maybe he has to ult to get himself over here as Kanavi going for the engage onto Dudu. Peter finding the pulverize onto Zeka in the backline as now Closer throws out the shockwave, but it's onto Zeka, who had already gone into stasis, and they take down the counter, start this one off. Zeus is tanking so well, but Duckdom with these 4 items complete is terrifying. Boomerang is, Pyoshik not quite hitting the Cataclysm, but there's the knockup from Dudu, who gets into the backline to take down Zeka, but there is Doctom falling as well. Gumayusi doing so much damage in this fight. Double knockup once again, as Closer is the one that needs to stay alive, but he doesn't. It's Gumayusi that holds the distance, and Dudu is just getting kited around the map and cannot do anything with Zeus the Beefcake in the front line.
If there was ever going to be a redemption game for Kuma Tsunara earlier this week, this was going to be it. He did so much work in this fight, and he has to critically win that fight against Doctom, who shows up to the fight late. You can see how much work he does, and this is basically just DNS saying we have a really insanely tanky front line with this Rek'Sai, with the Alistar. You just need to buy time for Doctom to come here and stop the Baron. They succeed, they lose the Alistar, but when Doctom shows up, the fight becomes so tricky here. Look at this follow-up from Pyoshik as well.
Barely, like he could have hit 3.
But look at Kuma in this moment here, flashes away, gets help from Zeus, and then takes Closer out of the fight from maximum range here. Look at this. That snipe is so critical. If he does not get that, if Dudu kills Kuma or he's not able to actually line that shot up, then I think this fight turns out completely different. He now has nearly a 5,000 gold lead over his opposition. I think he might have just won the game for his squad.
Yep, that's a quadra kill. 10, 2, and 7 here for Gumayusi.
And he bought the item that does more damage when you get a takedown near the objective, that lethality item. So he's really Kuma on the steal right now.
He certainly is, and he's got all of the items. That's as many as you can possibly put together. All right, another team fight to come on through here as Closer takes another piercing arrow that just does so much damage. Into the backline does go Dudu, looking for the angle there as Pyoshik with the Cataclysm, but he gets charmed up and taken down to the GA. And you can see Zeus just buying so much space. Emperor's Divide onto Dudu and onto Peter, and Zeus finally will go down. The cinders fly, but down goes Doctom as well, and Peter will follow. HLE just getting a little too big to fail now, as Zeus absolutely doing his job, and Dudu the last man standing.
And of course, Kuma gets the objective with that massive damage. I don't even remember what that item is called. I'm looking it up right now. Bastion Breaker.
That's why you don't remember, because it's got a silly name. It should just be called Weird Metal Pickaxe Item. That's probably what the name should be.
If you're PvPing, you're suddenly PvEing right afterwards really hard.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be inhibited down in the mid lane, and with only Dudu there, I thought HLE might be going for the end, but they decide not to. Just going to back away.
It's that stage of the game where you've got your empowered recalls, you got what you came for. If Doctom survive, if he respawns, like they know the Alistar ult's coming back up and they get wiped there, they might just lose the game. They have a lot of structures, but better safe than sorry. The front line here, again, is buying time for Doctom to hit a Scion.
Yeah,
Closer
and Doctom are both just hitting Scion.
I think the setup is correct, but unfortunately, this is a level 20 Scion who's nearly full build, so Doctom eventually loses his front line and just gets collapsed on and dies. I still think, despite the fact that it looked like maybe Doctom was going to be able to carry this game in 2 fights, I think it might just be over. Big shockwave.
Yeah, Dudu is trying to survive, and Chains of Corruption is going to snag Closer, and he's just popped like a balloon. Piercing arrow does exactly that, and that is a dead Orianna. Now you've got Zeka going in, looking for Doctom. Great spell shield though, as Zeka will have to go golden to keep himself alive. Can the Sivir get enough worked on? That's the question, as down will go at least the Azir to start this one off, and that is massive damage, as HLE, a hail of arrows, finishes him off. And that is going to put an end to DNS here in game number 1. Gumayusi is hungry for that kill onto Pyoshik, but he is relegated to the fountain, and he may just even die. Chains of Corruption comes on in, flag and drag for fun, and flashes out of the way. But it's not going to change the outcome of this game, as the Nexus will go down, and HLE go up 1-0.
Just 1v1 the other guy, and Guma will get it done. He will kill all of the front line, and Doctom will never kill me. We don't need to mark him with one man.
And that is exactly what happened. And it's kind of crazy that this game, after those first 2 Drakes went down, DNS won a couple of fights, and then it was one team fight. And HLE, they got a foothold and they never let go.
우리 오리 도고. 안 죽어.
봐봐. 계속 봐봐. 이거 쭉 쪄줄래? 쭉 쪄줄래?
오리 볼게.
아, 오리 볼게.
오리 도고. 나왔다.
야, 미드 가자. 미드. 야, 내쪽 봐줄래?
왔어 보자. 왔어. 좋아.
맞아, 커버줘.
좋아. 11에 탱고. 11에 필.
나 살아있어.
가자.
나이. 타워.
아,
파란 팀의 포탑이 파괴되었습니다. 파란 팀의 포탑이 파괴되었습니다. 파란 팀의
가시.
포탑이